Republican Senator Mark Kirk here with us. And Senator Kirk, thank you for joining us.
See you.
You guys closer to a compromise? What is the very latest that you can tell us?
The very latest, the big news is the House of Representatives will go on record in favor of a debt limit extension in return for a balanced budget amendment to the Constitution. Now, the president opposes a balanced budget, but the move forward this week is House Republicans will vote for a debt limit extension in return for the amendment.
Got it.
Making that deadline, you think? This August 2nd deadline, whatever you want to call it.
I would predict that we probably pass the final version, whatever it is, about 20 hours before the deadline, which would be sometime August 1st or August 2nd.
Okay.
I wanted to ask you, what did you make of the president, who's been pushing Republicans very hard to make a deal, when he said it's time for us to eat our peas? What did you think about that?
Did you think it was insensitive?
I mean,
what did you think about that?
It felt slightly condescending, and I think we're moving into a time where we have to stop partisan rhetoric. This is the final days, and so we should maybe do fewer press conferences and more negotiating so that no one has hurt feelings, and when the final deal comes through, we could advance the country's agenda without any crisis in our credit rating or a rise in interest rates.
You know, speaking of coming to a conclusion or coming to some sort of an agreement, there are so many plans out there. We're hearing about so many floated. Harry Reid and Mitch McConnell, the Senate leaders, have plans. We've got this temporary plan that might be looked at. What do you think will actually move forward here, and will it be a temporary plan?
Right. I think basically three options. I am in favor of the big deal, the bipartisan deficit reduction. That's a $4.5 trillion drop in borrowing. But then there's the McConnell backup plan, which is to use a set of procedural means in which the president largely gets what he wants. But I think people want more spending reform. And then, typical to Congress, there may be yet another plan, and that would be to give the president half of what he wants for a reduced set of spending cuts. So the big plan is $2 trillion in additional debt for $4 trillion in spending reductions, or we might cut both of the numbers in half, and that is the subject of negotiations for the next 2 weeks.
All right. Bottom line, though, your feeling is something will get done, but probably not the full-blown deal, but a temporary one.
That's right, and I think the credit rating of the United States will be defended, but we'll probably solve this about a day before the deadline.
Got it, got it. Now, you're also in town to talk about Medicaid reform, and tell us about very interesting.
This is very worrying. So Republicans and Democrats actually got together in Illinois and said, for Medicaid health care support, you should be a low-income person resident of Illinois. But this reform has now been struck down by the federal government. They say we can't use proof of Illinois residency to qualify for this taxpayer-funded program. The reform would strengthen Medicaid by $800 million. And yet the federal government has struck down this bipartisan Illinois reform.
Well, do you see that being the next priority? You got to get the debt thing figured out first.
That's right. And we're also worried about the state of Illinois budget, which is going on. Right. Illinois has the worst credit rating of almost any other state. And this would have really helped our state finances. And yet the Obama administration's head of Medicare services, et cetera, has said, no, you can't use this bipartisan reform. Just about anybody qualifies, and common sense measures to ensure that an Illinois resident qualifies for an Illinois program cannot be used.
Some real problems, no question, Senator Kirk. Thanks for talking to us about it here on Good News Chicago.
All right, let's send it over to Tam.